Okay, so listen. This long-term review of the Pixel 8 Pro is for those of you who are looking for a no-bullshit, cut-and-dry, right-to-the-bone verdict on a phone you're thinking of buying. I'm a small tech tuber, and therefore I'm clearly not bought out and paid for by any companies. And that should come in favor in this review, because then you know I'm not biased. The reason why I'm doing this is because I'm getting tired of all the yapping that's going on in a lot of tech reviewers' videos of phones out there, because if you really think about it, a phone is not that complicated to understand today, since we all have a pretty wide frame of reference on what a phone is. Okay, so firstly, I want to talk about whether or not a Pixel in general is for you or not. Because as I mentioned, most phones function pretty much the same, and often we find that it's the actual UI, user interface, or software that differentiate them. Okay, so firstly, I'm assuming you want an Android phone, right? Okay, now I'm gonna speak my own subjective opinion here. I like Pixel a lot. Personally, when I'm using an Android phone, I want to be at the home of Android. And the home of Android is Pixel. Pixel is owned by Google, Google owns Android, and that's the way it goes, right? Logical. The second reason I like Pixel is because of their leading role in artificial intelligence-driven smart features on a phone. There are features like the Now Playing feature, where you can check which song is playing at any time, just look at your phone, glimpse at it real quick. Another feature is the ability to copy any text from a recent app. When you show the apps you got in your recents, I'll show right now. Look at this. Wow, yes, cool. We also got a lot of AI features on the camera front, like Magic Eraser, Unblur, and Best Take, which is a cool feature as well. I like stuff like that. It fucking, giddies my gitters, it butters my scotch, basically, to play with something like that. It makes me feel like I got a phone here that is fitting in a setting of 2024 almost, as opposed to, I'm not gonna lie, sometimes when I'm using other phones, which is rare at this point because I mainly use Pixel, but sometimes when I'm using other phones, it just feels like I'm stepping a couple years back in the time, and it works, it's fine, but it's just not, it doesn't have that itch, which I feel like is more present on Pixel, So that's that. Okay, so the third reason why I like Pixel is because all the default apps on a Pixel are Google's own apps. So we got the Google Photos, Google Calendar, Google Gmail, YouTube, the Google Notes, Google Reminder, all that stuff, Google Recorder, all these things. And I really like those apps. And when you're using phones that are from other manufacturers, you often see duplicates of apps, duplicates of Photos app, duplicates of Gmail apps, duplicates of Mail apps, duplicates of calendar apps, and so forth. And that's just, it's not given. I don't like it. Okay? So if any of this resonates with you, or you feel like it sounds nice to have, then you might like Pixel, basically. All right? With that out the way. As a little side note, Pixels have been known to be kind of buggy and getting slower over time. Infamous for that. I haven't experienced this with this phone for the 3 months I've had it or whatever. And generally, it's not something I notice that much about Pixels. They basically work pretty fine for me. So I don't know. I'm just saying, just for good measure. All right, let's talk about cameras. They're good. They're so good, in fact, that there's not even, personally, I'm not a hyper, camera nerd or whatever. So I can just sort of conclude that they're good. They're satisfying. Now, it's not like it can take the most technically impressive photo if you're a dude who knows exactly what he's doing, the right settings, the right circumstances, the right lighting, all that stuff. It's more like on the iPhone, Be an idiot, open up the camera, take a non-idiot photo. Unless it's a selfie. I'm joking, sorry. I'm joking. One thing that does annoy me with the cameras is that when you're filming video and you're zooming in on the viewfinder, it does jitter a lot and just kind of stuttery and just really not that smooth, and I don't know why. And please fix it, Google. But that's it though. Nothing big, nothing major. It's a very good camera. It's a leading camera in the Android space, in my opinion, right? So you can't go wrong with it, really. Now, as a side note, if you're looking for a phone, if you're the type of person who likes to send Snapchats and do on Instagram stories and make TikToks and just participate in the degeneracy of the modern society, then I would suggest you buy an iPhone instead, because they are just fundamentally better at those things. And the reason for that is because there are fewer iPhones coming out every year, and that makes sense for app developers to just focus on those few iPhones and make it perfect, instead of focusing on 150 different Android phones coming out the same year. And so you can call them lazy, or you can just call them, logically capitalistic motherfuckers, and they do their job pretty well. It is what it is, right? That being said, they're still fine cameras. They work for Instagram stories and Snapchat and whatever. It looks fine. It's just not as beautiful as when it's hyper optimized like it is on the iPhone. So now you know that. Okay, so screen time. It's a huge, let me just actually, for the sake of this, I'm filming with the phone right now, so I only have the cover. This is the size, so size comparison. It's a pretty huge phone, but it got a very vibrant and satisfying, bright, beautiful screen. And, you know, there's really nothing to complain about. It's high end. The only thing that I do not like, and I'll show you this in B-roll, is that the bottom bezel is ever so slightly thicker than the sides of the phone. Okay? I don't know if I'm just, you know what I'm saying? I feel like at this point, just match the sides to the bottom and make it as an equally symmetrical border around the phone. It just looks much better, in my opinion. You might not notice it at all though, because it is subtle. And in that case, fuck it. So the speakers, same deal as with the cameras and the screen. They're good, you know? I don't really feel like it makes sense to try to make a sound test or whatever, you know? Because you can't really judge it when you're, you know, viewing on your fucking 17-year-old broken laptop. They're good. Speakers are good. I mean, I feel like if at this point, if a phone manufacturer producing a $1,000 phone cannot put a decent speaker in a phone on that price point, they're smoking something that I want to taste of, because it feels like it makes you not care that much. And that seems nice. Blissful. But no, they're good. Good speakers, no worries at all. Alright, let's talk about haptics. Haptics are not always talked about by tech reviewers, and I think that's a shame, because it is important. It's very, you know, central to using a phone, especially because for a long time now, the tapping on the keyboard experience of Android phones, it just got, you know, introduced on the iPhone, but for a long time it's been an Android thing. And that means you're typing a lot on the phone, obviously. That's your main way of interacting with it. And you want to feel the thumps, the clicks, the clickety clacks, and they're good on Pixel. It's one of the things that makes me come back to Pixel again and again, because they're just so good. They're good. If you've never had a phone with good haptics, you're probably going to be quite pleasantly surprised with the experience on a Pixel phone, particularly. They're good, loud, you know, and just aggressive when they need to be, and subtle and precise and clicky when they need to. Okay, I mean, you know, I might sound like a broken record at this point, you know, but, you know what I'm saying? It's good. We're talking about the battery now. The batteries, again, is a little bit like the speakers. I don't want to even talk that much about it. I don't feel like it makes sense to show you a bunch of different things, because we all have different habits when using our phones. But I'll make it clear that I'm a pretty heavy smartphone user, or at least I am at times. So I have tested this to the limit, and I will get hyper annoyed if a phone cannot last through a day easily. And I wouldn't have this phone at this point if it couldn't. It would be just a sin. But it does last through the whole day, no problem. I can do heavy stuff, watching videos, filming, playing games, playing music, or just laying on a table playing music for hours, whatever, all that stuff. No problem. No problem. Okay, and the processor, Tensor G2 is what it is called in this current phone, right? G2? Tensor G2? I'm pretty, let me see. That's a lie. G3? Damn. I'll put it up on the screen right now. I think this actually shows, or, you know, proves my point pretty well, that I don't really care, you know. I think one thing you gotta maybe know is that I'm not a gamer or something on a phone. At least it doesn't seem that interesting to me to game on a small ass phone. But maybe if you're a hardcore gamer, you want to squeeze those extra frame rates on some game, whatever, you might be picky. But since you know that I'm not doing this, I'm just using it for normal stuff, camera, surfing around the web, texting, switching between apps, and it just works flawlessly. No problem. I have pretty high standard. I want it to be snappy, and it is. It's snappy, no problem. Yeah. I mean, if you really, I would think that if you want to game a lot on phone, you might want to go to the iPhone, unless that's a sin in your world, because the games, again, like Snapchat and social media apps, they're more optimized for iPhone. Or you might want to buy, you know, a dedicated gaming phone from the likes of Asus. But for all just normal smartphone use, except for maybe etching, hardcore on gaming, the Pixel is absolutely beautiful. And there's something I like about the newer Pixels. They all have the same processor, so it's not different tiers. It's not some slow pixels, some fast pixels. They're all blazing, and it's beautiful. Blazing beautiful. Okay, so last thing I want to talk about is the build quality of the phone and design, you know, in parentheses, because design is subjective. You can, you know, think what you want, look at it, judge for yourself. But I can't tell you about how it feels. It feels good. It's heavy, like good, heavy in a good way, not too heavy. It feels smooth, you know. It feels like $1,000 phone, you know, just this matte, smooth glass on the back, polished rails on the side. You know, I dig it. You know what I'm saying? I dig it. So you're not going to be disappointed with the build quality. Judge for yourself on the design front. Alright, that's it. Now you can go buy this phone, you crazy impulsive phone buying addict. Or don't. I don't give a fuck. And I think I want to circle back to the beginning of the video. I do not care if you buy this phone or not, and I think that's essential to a reviewing process, because if I did care, or hide my care somehow, try to manipulate you into buying this phone, you should probably be worried about my reviewing ethics. But that's not the case. Do what you like, right? I just give an honest, off the cuff review of a phone that I've been using. Take it or leave it. Alright, that's it. I'll leave you now, hopefully with a great day, and also remember to not form strong, aggressive opinion on complex matters after reading only the literal headlines of a couple of articles. That's a fundamental problem with the modern society. I'm out.